Come to the table. There is a place for you. The table is a place where people gather. We share conversation, a meal, and time with each other. We leave behind the busyness of our day to refuel, recharge, and reconnect. The table provides us with an opportunity to laugh, love, and experience life together. In the same way, Jesus invites us to his table to experience more of him. At his table, people from different backgrounds, ages, and cultures all have a place. We are all invited to his table, unified by his love for each of us. At Center for Global Impact, we get a glimpse of what it is like to be at Jesus' table when we come together. There's a place for you at our table to bring your skills and abilities, your failures, triumphs, careers, and passions to make an impact. We are unified by one mission: to love Jesus and his people by empowering the poor, protecting the vulnerable, and sharing the gospel. You are welcome at this table. There is a place for you. Will you join us?
For those of you who have watched the video before you showed up or were able to see it tonight, this table probably looks familiar. It was a part of the video that we showed, and there were some folks that were at this table that are also with us tonight. And so I'd just like to invite them to come up and have their seat at the table this evening. We want to hear stories about how they got here. All of these folks are people who have participated with CGI for a long time and want to share their story about how they found their seat at the table. My name is Jeff Krajewski. My wife, Nicole, is the designer for By Tavi, and so that's sort of how I found my seat at the table. But we are just really glad that you are seated here with us tonight. And if you're visiting with us for the first time, if this is your first Impact Gala, thank you so much for taking the time to make some time to hear about the stories that are so important to many of us. And so I'm just going to have our friends here introduce themselves as we get started. Carly, start with you.
Hi, I'm Carly Rush.
Hi, I'm Chris Rush.
Amanda Rabadeau.
Anna Cecil.
And I'm Amy Horton.
Thank you all for being here with us tonight. And you all have stories that got you to a seat at the CGI table. And so, Chris and Carly, I'm just going to start with you. Why did you choose to invest your time, your energy, and your resources with CGI?
Yeah, I am a stylist and I own a salon, and I was behind the chair, and one of my clients that day had just been talking about CGI. And during this time, the Lord had just really been bringing to my attention women and children who had been sex trafficked. And so I was learning more about that. And so this just really set my heart on fire to learn more, to want to be involved, and to love on these women and see them have success.
Thank you. And Chris, are you by marriage here, or what was your entry in?
Yeah, so I think that just seeing the passion, that was brought up in my wife with this issue, I think that it really just struck me, and it was just a great opportunity for me to kind of rally behind her and for us to come together as a family and just pour into this and see what we could do together to help out.
Thank you. Amanda, you... personal goals with our lives. We try to find things to do that fulfill us. How has CGI intersected with your own personal goals in life?
I really haven't ever actually like set out a goal. I've never written that down. Here, I want to volunteer this many hours, or I want to give this, or things like that. For me, I just don't want to float through this life. I want to make an impact with where I'm spending my money, where I'm spending my time, where I'm spending my prayers. I want that. I want it to matter.
Yeah. And Anna Cecil, a high school student who is very involved and have been involved for a long time. What was it about CGI that has been the biggest benefit to you as a supporter?
I've really gotten a great opportunity to serve and love others and focus less on myself and more on others. And I think that being a 16-year-old in high school, a lot of high school students tend to focus on themselves, and I think that we do that to a fault. So I think it's just CGI has given me a great opportunity to love others and not focus on myself.
Ah, that's so great. Thank you. Amy, you have a particular entry point here. You're also a board member and work in the not-for-profit world. And so what was it about CGI that said to you that you wanted to invest your time and talent?
Sure. Well, I was at my church, and we were doing a spiritual growth campaign. And our pastor was talking, this was the fall of 2019, about working on things that break the heart of Jesus. So working to combat those things in the world. And so at that point, I knew I was nudged to not only work 40 hours a week at my current job at a Christian organization, but also to do that through board service as well.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. Chris and Carla, you guys are business owners, and so as a part of the way that you think about your business ownership, you also think about the impact that you're making. How has CGI helped you kind of bring those two worlds together?
I have the privilege of being able to, again, stand behind my client and just talk to them about whatever I want, but being able to have more knowledge on sex trafficking and women and children, especially with CGI, really just kind of bring to light what is happening. And so it allows people to have open eyes to really kind of see what is actually happening and that it is a real thing happening. And so it's been a huge blessing to really just talk.
And I've never been in a situation where a stylist would have time to talk to me.
Is it your hair?
But I can imagine that there are these moments where all of a sudden God just shows up.
Yeah.
And
He does.
And I think, when you think about, and I think for all of us too, like we don't just have the life that we live 9 to 5, and then there's these other things that we do. I just think, Chris, the way that you guys have thought about running your business, how did you get there? Like, was there one moment, was it progressive, where you said, you know what, we want to make sure that people know about what's going on in the world and how we as Christians can have an impact?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been an amazing journey for us, just God growing our business kind of slowly, just stepping out in faith and just Him providing for that. And I think one of the great things is that He's provided great employees or people that work under us and with us, and we've kind of seen them as family, and we actually have a bunch of them here with us tonight, and it's been able to just be a blessing to bring them along and just open their eyes and just be able to gain awareness to what's going on and include them with us and have our worlds kind of come together in that way.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Amanda, as we wrap up here tonight, what's one thing that has just really benefited you from your time with CGI?
I think it's, especially after getting to sit at the table with you and your wife, seeing that the work that I get to have a tiny, tiny part in actually moves the needle. It actually moves the needle for a person with a name, with kids that are watching her. So this is something that can impact generations, and I get a little part of that, and so that's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Amy, actually, I'm going to go one more time with you as the board member. What's one thing that you would like us to know about your participation in the organization that has benefited you?
I would say the combination, a very unique combination of training and education plus carrying the gospel around the world. This has eternal value, not just life value, what's on earth right now, but for these women, it's eternal value for them. And so I would just say, commit as much as you can, come and join us and volunteer. We'd welcome you anytime, because what we're doing really matters, and it matters in the grand scheme well beyond this world.
Thank you all very much for not only the time, the energy, the effort that you put into the work with CGI, but just for being with us here tonight and for sharing a little bit of your story. Those are the sorts of things that help us all try to understand a little bit more about what's going on at CGI. So we just give them a round of applause as they go to their seats. Thank you all very much. The table is a wonderful metaphor. It's all throughout the scriptures, and one of the things that we just wanted to communicate tonight is that there's always a spot for you at a table. And we're talking specifically about the CGI table, but the idea that we are full, flourishing humans when we are activated in the way that God has made us in service to others. We just believe that's a universal biblical principle, that when we come together and bring all of the diversity of our gifts and our talents and our backgrounds for a common cause, and we would say a cause that is Jesus-centered, that is a fulfilling way for us to live our lives. And so we want you to imagine yourself in our chair. We have argued about the color of the chair: pumpkin, burnt orange, toasted something. We're not exactly sure what color it is, but it's empty because we believe that everybody could find their spot at some point. I remember when our family found our spot at the table, we were in a hair salon, of all places, in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, 11 years ago. And we were there because we were meeting a couple of young girls who had called a friend that we were with, and they wanted to talk to her. And these young girls walked in, 12, 13 years old maybe, and they had told this woman that they needed to say goodbye because the next day they were going to be on a plane going to Malaysia. Their parents had contracted them to go to Malaysia as domestic servants. And I wondered immediately why Malaysia needed to import domestic servants from Cambodia. And the person that was with me told me that this was a front, that these girls are being sold into slavery. And it broke our hearts. And in that moment, we knew that we had a seat at the table because our faith doesn't allow us to unsee those sorts of things, right? We can't just pretend that that didn't happen. Sometimes we get to the table because there's a need and we have resource, and so we step forward. But what that did for us is it started a decades-long relationship with Cambodia. It led to my wife being a full-time designer working to develop a clothing line that would be produced in Cambodia and sold here. We took our kids to Cambodia. Those people became our friends. They became our brothers and sisters. And it changed our life. It reshaped the way that we thought about what it means for us to participate in what God is doing in the world. Because you see, sometimes when you come to the table with the things that you have to meet the need that's there, you think that you're doing an act of charity. And what I realized was that the charitable gift was what happened in return. I see some of you nodding your heads. You've experienced that. Though it may be better to give than to receive, sometimes when you give, the receiving is much greater than you could have ever imagined. And that's what happened with us. What we realized was when we stepped out in for an act of charity, we were met at a table that was already set, because our scriptures tell us that whenever you step into the space where the least of these are, Jesus is already there. He says, whenever you've done it to the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you've done it unto me. And so whenever we are moving in the way of sacrificial love to those who are marginalized and poor, we are moving into the space where Jesus already is. And the table is such a powerful illustration. I don't know if you are familiar with the Psalm 23. It's probably the most popular. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Our God is a shepherd. He cares for us. But he's also a dinner host. He prepares a table before us. And where's that table? For those of you who are Psalm 23 knowers, where is the table? In the presence of our enemies. God prepares a table in the midst of the chaos. Wherever there is evil and destruction, God is there setting a table. We may not see it at first glance, but when we are willing to sit down at the table and when we see who else is there, we realize that this beautiful community emerges where there's this divine mutuality. And what we realize is that at the table of Jesus, we're all the same. I realized that when we walked into that salon where I thought I was doing an act of charity, when I just stepped forward with the little bit that I had to meet the great need that these girls were experiencing, that my redemption was also taking place. because we're the same. We're humans who want to be loved and cared for. And I got lucky where I was born into what I was born into, but that doesn't at all mean that I don't need the same saving that they need. And so tonight, we just wanted to give you an opportunity to think about what it would look like for you to sit in a chair at the CGI table and experiencing that divine mutuality that comes when we allow the table of Christ to be our table together.